willpower is a finite resource. So we've been covering a lot of consistency and follow through and showing up and how to make it happen. Because it'd be really nice if you just made the decision and then, by the fact that you'd snapped your fingers and you're like, I'm going to do this, lo and behold, you just follow through. It'd be really sweet if that's, how this worked. Because let's be realistic here. Consistency and doing the work for an extended period of time is the simplest way to guarantee incredible results. In anything, it doesn't matter what you want to apply this to. That if you keep showing up with consistency, with effort, with focus, with drive, for a long enough period of time, you will succeed. No questions asked. That is just the reality of the situation. As I said, that's much easier said than done. The ability to show up consistently is, it's the holy grail. That's what we're all pursuing. So what allows you to do that? And what gives you the skills to make it a reality? So most people struggle with it because basically they try and just muscle it through. They're like, I have willpower and I can make this happen. Well, here's the problem though. It's a bit more complex than that. Willpower is actually a finite resource. It's actually a muscle that you need to practice and train. It's why I talk about with demanding greatness that it will transfer into so many areas of your life, because once you get better at willpower, once you get better at follow through, once you become a man of your word, so many areas of your life then open up for you. So many different areas then, become a possibility for you because you've developed this skill and you can refine it and build it, but it's one that has to be worked on and developed daily. So as I said, willpower is a muscle that can be strengthened and improved and pushed and all this kind of stuff to deliver you more willpower. But regardless of how well you develop the muscle, it is still a finite resource. And we talked about this the other day. It's one of the reasons why I think it's really important to A, give yourself no other options, and B, to remove any chance of slip up, to put yourself in a situation where it is easier to follow through, where it is simpler to just do the work. And the simplest example I always have is, remove all junk food, anything that's not going to fit your eating plan from the house. Because, how frequently have you gotten, and I'm this way, gotten to late at night and you're like, man, I could really go an ice cream, a chocolate, a whiskey, I don't know, whatever your vice is. That would just hit the spot, no end. And hell, I was there last night. I was fucking knackered. Had a long day, and I was like, tub of Ben and Jerry's right now would just go down a fucking treat. But it wasn't in the house. I didn't have anything in the house. I will be perfectly honest. I searched high and low to see if there was anything super sweet in the house. And there wasn't. There was nada. There was absolutely nothing at any section of the house. And so, by default, I continued on. By default, I didn't miss. By default, I managed to continue and stay consistent because I didn't give myself the opportunity for it. As I said, this is part of the zero choice mentality, is that you remove all other options. When there isn't another option for you, it becomes much easier. You don't have to rely on the willpower to succeed because, you've removed any chance of fucking it up. And it's a really, really powerful way to help yourself with it. But most people fail either late at night or on weekends. And it's because you've utilized all that willpower, and you actually need to rest. It's part of why sleep is so important, because when you sleep, it gives your willpower a chance to reboot and reset itself. So that's why sleep and recovery are important factors of being consistent, of follow through, of success, all these kinds of things, especially while you're building it out. It's the same as, I don't know if you've ever been there, but like you go on a really, really long road trip, for example, and you're knackered and you're tired and you didn't sleep the night before. What do you reach for? Junk food, sugar, quick fix. You're looking for a dopamine hit. You're looking for a quick energy source. You're looking for these kinds of things because your brain is running on less. So it's looking for something to give itself a boost. So again, that's why when you're making massive choices and massive changes like this, it also helps if you get a good night's sleep. It also helps if you look after yourself in other ways, not just the change of exercise and nutrition and all these kinds of things. Because if you can get yourself into a better physiological state, everything else will flow better. Now, often this isn't within your control. If you have kids, especially young kids, my kids still don't fully sleep through the night. They want cuddles and they want love, and I know that will end at some point. So I'm never going to deny them that sense of feeling safe and secure. But God, sometimes it'd be nice to sleep a whole night through. But you do what you can within the situation that you have. You do what you can within what you have available to you. And the better off you can do this, and I've done podcasts before on, sleep hygiene and the best ways to set yourself up for success on sleep. But you want to give yourself the best opportunity to have the most willpower. And the same applies for decision fatigue. So decision fatigue is a real thing. If you look at people like, your extreme, and again, we're going to the extreme levels of this, your Steve Jobs, your Zuckerbergs, your Jack Dorseys of the world. They take this really, really seriously. So they wear the same clothes every single day. Steve Jobs' famous turtleneck. They eat the same foods every single day. They don't make decisions on stuff that doesn't matter. But we're constantly making decisions on minor things instead of focusing on the major things. We're majoring in the minors. Things that don't matter, that don't affect your day-to-day life, that don't affect the outcome, that don't move the needle forward. That's where people are placing a hefty amount of their focus. And you get decision fatigue. So when you get to the point where you need to make hard decisions on things that do truly, truly matter, well, all of a sudden you're fatigued out and you can't make the decision. So again, this comes back to my zero choice mentality. When you give yourself zero option, when you don't give yourself a chance to negotiate, it just is. It actually makes it simpler. It actually makes it easier to follow through. It actually makes the discipline a simpler option because you don't need to negotiate. You don't need to make decisions. You don't need to use up, again, one of those finite resources that you have to decide to do this thing. You just do. It's the same as why I say do it every single day. You don't give yourself a chance to rewire. You don't give yourself an opportunity to back out. You don't give yourself a chance to say, oh, I don't feel like it today, and listen to your feelings they will fucking betray you. You just do the work. And this is how you make big progressions forward. And I have people who push back on this. They're like, oh, it's really not that simple. I'm like, it is actually. If you make it that simple, if you make it that there's no other option, if you make it that you don't get a choice in the matter, you just do it, it does actually make it easier. Discipline is freedom when you execute it correctly. It's why I don't like if it fits your macros. It's why I don't like people who don't go into the gym with a plan. Because I think you're setting yourself up for failure. For me, and when I coach clients, it's the plan was made ahead of time. The plan was made when motivation was high. The plan was made when you were feeling great and you were ready to take on the world. Once the plan is made, there is no deviation. And people think that's really rigid. And there are obviously exemptions to the rules, like if you get injured or things like that. But otherwise, there is no deviation. If the plan has been made, the plan must be executed. So you don't get to show up at the gym and go, oh, it's leg day. I don't really feel like leg day today, so I'm not going to do it. No, that's what's written. That's what's happening. It's the same with the weighted walk. It's the same with the nutrition. It's the same with all of it. The plan has been made. You are now going to execute the plan. The plan doesn't give two flying fucks about your feelings, about how you feel today, if you want to do it today, if you feel up to it, or anything in between. The plan has been made, and it is happening. End of story. And when you give yourself that, and when you internalize that and go, the plan has been made, it is done now, well, my friend, you'll be shocked at how much easier it is to follow through. And I'm not saying initially. Initially, it's a big fuck you. And I find a lot of people have a really adverse reaction. They punch up against it of like, oh, no, that's not how it works. But once you go, this is who I am, this is what I'm doing, I don't need to make a decision because the decision has already been made, you'll find that the follow-through is great. You'll find that the follow-through is much, much more effective because you don't need to question it anymore. You don't need to decide. You don't need to rely on your willpower to force you through, especially when that moment is weak. It just is. All you have to do is know that it is, and you are doing it, and that is the extent of it. And yeah, as I said, people think it's way more complex than it needs to be. But a lot of it comes down to actually simplifying it. It comes down to actually making it really, really straightforward and just showing up and doing the work. And once you find the consistency factor that ticks the box, that tickles your brain, that makes you go, yes, this is what works for me, you'll find everything in your life gets easier. As I said, it's the same for demanding greatness. Fitness is that tool that is going to deliver everything else you want in this life. Fitness is that tool that's going to teach you the skills to make you the most effective version of yourself. That's why we start here and we build out everything else from there. This isn't just to be strong, to be fit, to have big muscles, to look good. Though those are really nice benefits, what this actually is about teaching you the skills that will allow you to build the greatest life possible. So let's start with that. Let's start with removing the choice, with removing the need to rely on willpower, that the decision has already been made. You can start demanding greatness. You can start building that out for yourself. And once you start demanding greatness, you find that everything, and I mean everything, in your life gets better. But that's all I have for you. I'll talk to you again soon.